Well, good morning, Lydia. How's it going?
Hi, Sarah. Good. How are you today?
Doing great. Doing great. Well, it's good that we're getting back together. It's been 2 weeks.
Yes, yes. And it is 1 year anniversary from when COVID first started. I can't believe it. Between now and next week is when we started, at least the country started shutting down and changing things. People were getting furloughed and people were working it from home. So give us some information that you have regarding that.
And it's wild because you really think about it. So last week and even a little bit of this week is really the last of our, we'll call it
Normal.
normal-ish, year over year comparisons. So then starting next week, any of our year over year comparisons really will be complicated. They'll be impacted by the pandemic, the lockdown, and we even had curfews and stuff too. So all of that
Oh,
was
yeah, that's
happening.
right.
Yeah,
Yep.
we didn't really know what was going on, and here we are 12 months later thinking, wow, we know a lot more, and we're glad that that's over and we can keep moving forward.
Yes.
There's a lot of optimism in the entire economy, and a lot of things that are happening is, we're increasing with the vaccine. The vaccines are becoming more and more available to people across the country, and we're seeing some death rates drop. We're seeing hospitalizations drop. I mean, lots of good news in that, and cases are going down. So, hopefully that whole normal word that we talk about will be
Yeah,
here soon.
exactly.
And and it's interesting because we really look at that and how everything has impacted real estate is just quite interesting. And so, we're looking at, even if we just look at the purchase mortgage applications, and week over week they are actually up 7%, and we know that rates have increased, so we know that, I mean, there really truly is, this is real demand, and we are up 2% year over year. And keep in mind, our demand was definitely ramping up this
Yep.
time last year before there was the whole 5-6 week pause. um, and so it's interesting that we see our continued demand, and the reason for this continued demand, according to several leading economists, is really largely based on today's demographics. And that really means is right now we have the largest group of the largest generation. They're about 26 to 34 years old, which is prime home buying age, because this is a lot of time where people are getting married and having babies,
Yep.
and they want to go out to the burbs and get their houses. And so that demand is actually expected to remain through the end of 2024, just based on the size of this group. And so, that should keep our elevated demand. And so as we look at what that does and how we look at what is strong positive demand, how does that impact forbearance and, of course, foreclosures? And
Right.
so, currently there's about 2.6 million borrowers that are on a forbearance plan, and that is a decrease slightly from, last week. We're about 5.2% of all loans. The numbers really largely remained flat over the past couple months, but this is a new low since they started these, forbearance plans from the CARES Act last March, at the end of last March. And so when we look at these things, the numbers, we also want to look at the stage in which people are in. And so about
Right.
14.6% of forbearance plans are in their initial stage. And they tend to be 3 to 6 months long, depending on the loan specifics, the lender, the borrower, stuff like that. And so that number has increased a little. Um, Nearly 83% of all plans are on extension. So that is definitely our largest group. We know that our 90-day plus group who are delinquent on their loans, that is definitely an elevated number from, I think
Right.
we're 1.8 million ahead of where we were 12 months ago. So
Right.
while that number remains elevated, we do need to keep in mind some of our, our 30-day lates those are dropping significantly. So this is a
Right.
good thing that we do have some challenges, but the challenges are not getting bigger.
Right.
About 2.6% of all of the loans in forbearance are reentries. So those are
Right.
people who kind of got out, needed some more help. So
Right.
if we think about that, about 43% of all exits, all forbearance plans exits, are current on their mortgage upon exit. So that's a
And
nice,
that's excellent.
chunk. Exactly. So we
Yep.
really have, more, and the things that I want to make sure I have my numbers accurate. It's about 13.8% of loans are they don't have a loss mitigation plan in place. So those are going to be, that's the group that really is going to need the most help.
Right.
Now the
Those are
numbers,
the concerned ones. Yeah.
yes. And all these numbers are really based on, this is national data. And so we're starting to get some insight in that really talks about, it's going to be very localized too, where we see, because we've got the continuing demand here in Arizona. We have a lot of demand. We have a lot of people coming to Arizona. We have a lot of people coming to take advantage of a whole lot of things. So our equity positions are going to be very, very strong. Many parts of the country are very, very strong, but there are some that are going to be weaker than others. And, when we have about, most of our borrowers, and again, nationwide, have 90%, at least, 90% of our borrowers have equity. So we're in a much better situation. We're not over leveraged the way that we were 12 years ago. And so, and then we have to kind of, as we start seeing what those foreclosures look like as they come to the market, because we will expect to see some more filings, not necessarily foreclosure, the foreclosure completions. They probably won't happen because people get filed. They know that they've got a lot of equity. They can go ahead and sell and walk away with money in their pocket. I do expect that we'll see quite a bit, a bunch of those, not a ton, but we will see people who do need to sell, but they can do it and put money in their pocket. And another thing to keep in mind as we do get closer to when those foreclosure moratoriums are lifted is that over the last 22 years, the average foreclosure, the average in a month is about 67,000 foreclosures. So they happen always, they're always kind of happening in the background. We do expect it to be elevated, and then it'll come down, and we'll probably be around our average numbers, after things kind of settle into place. And the latest, so the latest stimulus plan that it's actually being debated in the House today. We should get some more information really soon. It has several provisions on housing, and we'll see how those provisions, kind of shake out, how they're implemented, because it, very well could impact, struggling borrowers, landlords, renters, future buyers. And they do have provisions in there that are specific to different industries. And I know, Lydia, you've been doing a lot of research on specific industries and how it's been impacted. So I know you want to share that with us.
So one of the industries that I've been looking at, of course, a lot of industries have been impacted by COVID and the shutdowns and the furloughs. But one industry in particular, of course, is the travel industry. And a lot of countries are still closed, and we're not able to go to those countries at this point. There's only a few countries that really are open at this point. And so I was looking at the TSA numbers, and it's interesting because they have it specifically from 2019, 2020, and 2021, and each day. And TSA is pretty accurate because they clock everybody that goes through the TSA system. So the airlines at this point are about 50 to 60%. There's this 50 to 60% decline in travelers. So the airline industry is one where a lot of people got furloughed, and there are people that are starting to lose their jobs. And so one reason why I'm looking at that particular industry is because those people, we don't want them to lose their houses, and we want them to gain all their equity. So if they are even considering selling, just to be able to get that equity, think about what they're going to do, and maybe find a different job, that would be a good group. Just the fact that there's other industries as well that are going through this impact as well. So we really want to make sure that we work with those people that are in those situations, because the longer this goes on, and we'll know more, hopefully next week, we'll know whether when we meet up next week, we'll hopefully have some more information on the new stimulus and who that's going to impact and what industries it's going to have. But really, we don't want people to lose their equity. And the longer forbearances get pushed out, the less equity potentially that people have. So it really is a numbers game, and it's a case-by-case situation. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is on the servicing side of things, because of course the servicers can't foreclose right now. And so a lot of the servicing companies are having people like myself work for them, just do drive-by BPOs and drive-by inspections. And those inspections have decreased over the last week, which is kind of interesting. It'll
Especially
be an
because it's
interesting.
been increasing for so long for you. I mean, it's been
Yes.
months that we've been seeing that increase.
Yep. It started out in July, and I just got a couple each week, and then it became a couple each day, and then it became 5 to 8 a day, and now it's coming back down. So which could be a good thing. So we'll keep track of that as well.
Yes. And it's one of these things where we keep guessing because these inspections, it really is a leading indicator. It gives us an idea
Absolutely.
of what's to come, but
Right.
then we want to know, well, what's causing the changes in the numbers? And I mean, we're going to just keep looking into it, and we would love to have a definitive answer, but there's a lot of different things impacting it.
Absolutely. And we definitely, right now, iBuyers are really popular. And those for iBuyers that people don't know who they are large fix and flippers. They will buy your house at a lower price and throw some paint, carpet, clean it up, and then they'll put it back on the market for an increase in price. And we don't want, for some people, they need that. But for the most part, we don't want people to leave money on the table. And if they do sell to an iBuyer, 9 times out of 10, they are going to leave money on the table. And that is a concern because the homeowner should be the one that gets that money.
Right. And if things are getting real tight and those numbers, every dollar matters, and looking at what those differences are is significant. And
absolutely,
there's a lot of things that have happened with how the iBuyers are creating what they're creating, and they're doing a lot of things. We're just going to continue watching kind of that movement because it is such a big deal in the market. Yet,
absolutely, especially here in Arizona. I know iBuyers are everywhere, but we have a large amount of iBuyers here locally. So we'll keep an eye out on that.
Yeah. And we're the most mature iBuyer market, just they've been here the longest, so.
Exactly. We have a lot of investors. That's all I can say.
Yeah. So. Yeah. It's a good market here in Arizona.
Next week, we'll try to get the information from the new stimulus if we can get it at that point.
Definitely. And we'll cover what's impacting, forbearance, delinquency, foreclosure, what we can know about that to help just better, equip everybody with some information.
Yep. Sounds good. Thanks, Sarah. I appreciate it.
Yeah. It's always good to see you. Appreciate your time.
Good to see you. See you next week.
Bye.